Joining us in the studio this morning is again Vanessa Martin and Lori Durbin. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. Could each of you, we're just going to go down the line, and Lori, you're furthest from me, so if you would just introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're involved with and what your role is with the library.
Okay, well, obviously Lori Durbin. I've been with the library 25 years. I'm working on my 26th year. And I am as of right now, I'm the adult program coordinator and public services manager, and I do adult collection development, which means that I purchase all of the books, audiobooks that are that are actually in the library, and then I'm also responsible for purchasing some of our ebooks with Libby. As far as personally, I have 3 kids and 4 grandchildren, and married to Sean, and I've lived in Greensburg my whole life. So I'm passionate about everything that happens here,
Yes.
particularly with the library. So that's just who I am, I guess, in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit. I didn't realize you'd been with the library that long, 26 years. Tell me a little bit about some of those different roles that you've played.
Well, I started out working 14 hours at the front desk, checking books in and out and taking care of patrons. And from there, I moved into the outreach librarian storytime lady. So I went to all the preschools and daycares and did story time. And then we turned that into a full-time position and hired someone, and I moved into being our teen librarian and our marketer. And then we filled that teen position as a full-time position, and I moved into adult programming. I was still doing a lot of the marketing. We do have a full-time marketer now, which is really nice.
Yes.
And so I can focus on managing the front circulation staff, and also ordering the necessary materials and helping plan programming for adults.
Thank you for that. I think that is so interesting, not knowing what those answers were going to be. I think that is a testament to the growth of the library over the years and how our library has changed. So that's very, very cool that you've gotten to see all of that. And as a young entrepreneur, you started out with what sounds like was a part-time job, maybe not even intending to be there full-time, and here you are 26 years later. So very, very cool that it's not only been a passion, but has become a mission in life and
Absolutely.
a career.
I can't imagine myself having done anything else. And
Sure.
so it's been a great run of things that I've been able to accomplish and do. And, we've built we have a commercial kitchen that happened, while as I've been there, and we're looking at some growth now with the construction that we have going on now. Looking at growing and doing more, how we can continue to serve the community and to serve the community in new ways.
Yeah, awesome. We're going to get to a couple of those topics in a little bit, but let's go ahead and introduce Vanessa Martin. Welcome, Vanessa. Tell us a little bit about you and your role and where you've been.
Yeah, so I have been at the Greensburg-Decatur County Library for 13 years, 7 years as director now. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
Yes.
So as a director, I wear many hats, but like Lori, I started out, as a part-time circulation staff and have just worked my way up. But as the director, I do all of the budgeting, I deal with personnel issues, the construction, the bond, all of those kind of things. So I wear many hats.
Yes, awesome. I had no idea, I guess. I just know that you're there, and I guess I hadn't realized how long both of you have been there, which I think creates stability, obviously, for an organization. So the library is very blessed to have both of you. Let's talk a little bit about that construction bond situation. So just jump right in and tell me what it is and what you're looking at and what the plans are.
Okay, so this all started actually several years ago.
Okay.
We had to do our long-range plan. As a public library, we're required to do them and submit them to the state. And so for our long-range plan, we decided that we would put out a survey to the community, see what our needs were, and then go from there. So what came out of our survey repeatedly was that people felt like our building wasn't very accessible. It was
Okay.
difficult for our disabled patrons to access our building.
Okay.
And we also heard a lot of, we wish you had outdoor space. We wish you had space to go read a book, you know, sit on a bench and read a book or and that kind of thing. So,
Okay.
so our construction project really focuses on that. So we're making our building more accessible, which includes a lot of that front entryway work, which I know it has to be done, but in the process, it's a painful process.
Definitely.
Frustrating at times.
Definitely
Sure.
a
Yes,
process.
yes.
Well, and I think it's been difficult for our patrons because one of the things that we're doing in working toward accessibility is we're redoing our bathroom situation. And, you know, the building was built in 1994,
Okay.
93, 94. And
yeah.
so, you know, it was ADA compliant at the time, but things have changed and we know
Sure.
more. So, you know, when you know more, you do more. And so we're making those bathrooms a lot more accessible for people in wheelchairs, walkers, that kind of thing. But the problem is they all have to be done at the same time. So right now we don't have any public restroom facilities of any kind. Aside from the porta-john, it's at the end of the sidewalk.
So
It's
lovely.
marked
Yeah.
for, you know, patron use only. But it's absolutely necessary that we do that, and that was the only way that it could be done.
Yeah.
And so,
Interesting.
you know, the children's room is being made more handicapped accessible as well.
Yeah.
So they're working on that. Vanessa mentioned the outdoor space. We're working on in our lawn area on the opposite end of the building. With some covered space that we can hold programming, and I think that really came out with COVID. That you know
Yeah,
we needed
definitely
to
did.
have more outdoor space
Sure.
for people to do different things, and so we're working toward that. And then in the mix of that, also getting new meeting room space, which will also we'll have new sound system, that kind of thing. So we'll be able to do a few more things in that meeting room space than we have been able to.
Very nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Is the intent with that meeting room space that it be for library events, or will other businesses and organizations be able to utilize that space as well?
Yes, I think we haven't had our meeting room open to the public, but I feel like once it's redone, it will be accessible
Right.
for
We
all.
closed it when we were using it to store materials through COVID, and then we've also needed it for programming as we were trying to keep crowds. You know, like story time, we moved into that room
Gotcha.
to give more space, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it hasn't been open. We do still have our conference rooms and our large meeting rooms, or our large study rooms, I'm sorry, available for
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that once we get, I guess the answer to that question is it will always be for library use first,
Yeah.
because it's the only space that we really have
Yeah.
to do a lot of our programming,
Sure.
but then opened up to the community as necessary and as available.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go through, I do want to continue with the construction topic a little bit more, but it is kind of bringing up some of the assets that you have that a lot of people in the public may not realize. If you are not a frequent visitor of the library, you may not realize what's inside the wall. So just give me a quick layout of the floor plan and what you have available for the public to use.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say we have changed how we serve the public over the years, that's for sure.
Right, first it's
Yeah.
you know, when we started with computers, we had a computer lab, and of course that was a large footprint
Mhm.
because of the size of computers, that kind of thing. And
Sure.
part of this construction plan will it will minimize our computer lab space, but it actually makes the library more functional because we'll have space for people to meet and to gather, that kind of thing. And we our wireless. What do I want to say? We have wireless, and it's open
It's
to
open to
everyone at
everyone.
all
Okay.
times.
Yeah.
Okay.
People can access that from our parking lot
Parking
if
lot,
needed.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we do have a lot to offer, both inside the building and then outside, you know, the walls of the
Mhm.
building as well, because we do have, you know, streaming services for ebooks,
Yeah.
audiobooks, that kind of thing. So I think it's safe to say that the library actually has something for everyone, but a lot of people don't know that there are things that they might be interested in.
Sure.
Our ebooks services, you know, Libby, Hoopla. We recently joined a library speakers consortium, and that gives us the ability to have large name authors actually available to our patrons virtually. They just had John Stamos come and talk about his biography. And the way that you access that is through our either our calendar at greensburglibrary.org, or you can access that from the front page of our website as well for streaming services. So go ahead and talk a little bit about what we're doing as far as the actual building itself.
Yeah, well, and I just kind of want to circle back. There's so many services that we provide that very few businesses provide, like faxing service. You still wouldn't think that was such a thing, but it's very much utilized at our library. I mean, people need faxing service.
It's amazing. It's funny that you say that, because we have several members who come to our office to fax things, and there are specific things that other businesses or organization on the other side will not allow to come through email.
Right. Yes.
They still require that it is 100% faxed, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, why can't you just streamline this into an email? Like, we can scan an email all day long.
Yes.
Faxing does tend to be a little bit more tedious.
It does.
But there are certain businesses that still require that, which is amazing. So,
yeah, I know, and it's
that.
utilized, at our Westport branch too, even.
Oh, I'm sure.
Both places, both libraries. It's something that, and copying services, and everybody needs to print something. I mean, our printing services are well used, especially with online shopping and that kind of thing. People need to print out the labels and that kind of thing. So we have wireless printing too available.
Well, and I think along with the faxing you mentioned, being able to scan to email, we do have that ability to do that as well.
Sure. Okay.
We will continue to have computers available to our patrons for those that don't have those. And a lot of times what we find, Dawn, is people use their smartphones for almost everything.
Yes.
But that means you don't have a computer at home, you don't have a printer at home, you don't have access to those kinds of needs. And so we do have a lot of people who come in and want to print things from their cell phone. And so we have those services available as well. There's just we try to find a way to do almost everything at the library.
If we hear about a need or something like that, we'll investigate how can we make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll go back into the construction part of everything a little bit more. I have driven by many times. There's a lot of equipment. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Tell me how this has affected daily business. Are you experiencing closures? Are there things that are having to be shut down programming wise because of it? Talk a little bit about some of the hurdles that you've gone through with the construction.
Yeah, we've definitely had to shift things, that's for sure. And some of our programs we've had to shift to a different place and that kind of thing. And Lori can touch more on that. But we've had some unforeseeable things that we, as with any construction project, right? As we just had this conversation last week at our board meeting, there's always going to be things that come up, and we knew that, and you just kind of have to roll with it and that kind of thing. And so one of those things that has come up is that we are going to be closed on December 15th and 16th, so that the front lobby entrance area, all of the underflooring, the tile can be removed and then re-poured. We felt that it was the quickest and safest way for our patrons to get that work done without having people walking through that area, because that's our main entrance. There really is no other way to access the building right now for our patrons. So yeah, we're rolling with the.
It was something that we really didn't have planned. We weren't we had thought that we'd be able to complete the entire project without closing.
Yeah.
But that flooring presented a little bit of a challenge for the construction people in the fact that the underfloor needed to come up. We didn't anticipate that.
Yeah.
We thought we could take up the aesthetic part of the pretty part, the tile, that kind of thing, but the underfloor needed to be redone, and so it has to be poured and it has to dry. And so we'll be closed on Friday the 15th, Saturday the 16th, and we'll open at 10 that following Monday. And hopefully that means that the entire floor will be finished at that point and we won't run into any other issues. We have shifted. We've tried very hard not to cancel programming. That was something that at least the adult programming we felt really strongly about. So we have shifted. We're very fortunate to have some community partners that are willing to work with us. We've moved one of our adult craft programs to the branch this week. We do a program for developmental services, and we're moving that just into the library. In between fiction and nonfiction, we're just going to use that space for some craft programming. We've tried really hard to just keep things going as needed. Fortunately, December's a little slower for us because we're winding down into that end of the year, and we've had our Santa program. We did move that off-site to the YMCA over the weekend because we don't want to disappoint people. And so we've managed to stay open for all of the needs that people have as far as, copying and printing and accessing the internet, finding that book that, they're keeping themselves entertained with. I do really want to touch on, Dawn, if you don't mind, the new program that we do have, which is the Library Speakers Consortium.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I want to talk about it because it's really kind of unique. The Library Speakers Consortium was started. A group of librarians got together and said, smaller libraries like Decatur County, Greensburg-Decatur County Public Library, or let's say, Rush County Public Library, Shelbyville County, we don't have a lot of money. Our tax dollars are based on our community. And so, some of the larger libraries have the ability to have some of these big name authors come in and speak to people. But we don't have that ability unless we get a large grant for something like that. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to join this speakers consortium. And what they do is they do a virtual interview with these authors. So John Stamos was just there. They just had him. And the really cool thing is we have now access to those that have already occurred. So if there was somebody that you really wanted to hear speak, but you couldn't at the day and time that it was scheduled for, it was recorded, and you can go back and listen to that now through our link into this consortium. So we have Victoria, what's her name? Victoria Aveyard, I think. I don't know if that's how you say her last name. She's a teen science fiction writer. Stephanie Land, who wrote the book Made, that was made into a Netflix special. She's coming up, I think, on December the 12th. She has a new book out called Class. And it's her books are about what it's like to be underprivileged and living below the poverty level, and how she made it as a maid. And what that's like for her and how her life has changed. I think she'll be a fascinating speaker. And there are a lot of people coming up, but there's been a lot of people in the past that have spoken that people might be interested in. And so all they have to do is go to our website and click on our, I think it's called, what do we have it, webinars and streaming services or online services, or they can go to if they're looking for things that are coming up in the future, they can just go to our calendar from our website and click that link.
And then when they click that link, are they going to receive a link for that future date, or how does that work?
So they'll receive a link for the future date. If it is one in the past, then they'll just click that link and it'll pop up for them. But if they want to watch something that's coming up, they can actually submit questions. So when I registered for the Stephanie Land, I had the option to actually put questions in that I might want the author to be asked. And so it's a very unique way of offering insight into some of these bigger authors that we normally wouldn't be able to offer to our patrons. And the really good thing about that is if my daughter lives in Cincinnati, but she doesn't, it's not by library card.
You don't
have to have a library card. You just have to go visit our website or our calendar, and you can click on that and get that link. It has to go through our website, but it doesn't have to be somebody who lives in our area, which is kind of unique as well. Because Libby and Hoopla, which are our other streaming services, you do have to have a library card to access those. And so it's kind of a unique way of offering things to people that that we can't offer otherwise.
Yeah, we love a good collaboration. So
Yeah,
we talk
absolutely.
about that all the time, that we love to see our members collaborating with other chamber members, and some of the partnerships that come out of that, just people helping people. And so this is a great way that you're able to do that for the public. So,
Well, and the library is really interested in that, that whole concept of partnering.
absolutely.
Because we know we can't offer everything,
Sure
and we know that, other community members can't offer everything either.
Sure.
And so between, the 2 or 3 of us as we get together, sort of like, you mentioned the holiday walk with the hospital.
Yeah.
Those, there was a lot of people there. I would have loved to have seen more community partners coming into that, because it's a great way to see who is in your community and what they're offering.
Sure.
So, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
We're out there. We're
Yeah.
out there for people to access. And if people have questions, the nice thing is there's always somebody at the front desk who can answer those questions. And if they can't answer it, they can find someone who does.
Yeah.
We're really, really good at finding the
I was
information.
going to say
Yeah.
resourcefulness,
Yes.
right?
That's what a
Yeah.
library really can offer you that you're
Yeah.
not going to get a lot of other places. Is
Yeah.
we know a lot of things about a lot of things,
Yeah.
and so we can find
Sure.
those answers for you, and always looking to improve and become better. I think one of the things that libraries have seen, really since COVID, is that people need social time, and they need a place where they can gather together to do, to work, to play, to learn, to grow. And your public library is a place that offers that.
Yeah.
And we are working toward making that happen. One of the things that Vanessa didn't mention is in the survey that people wanted an outdoor book drop
Yeah.
so that they didn't
Yeah.
have to get out of their car. And so we're working on that. We
Yeah.
also have
Yeah.
curbside service.
Yeah.
So if you're a mom of, mom of 3 and 2 of the kids are asleep in their car seats, you don't have to come into the library. We can
Right.
bring what you have out to you.
Nice.
So there are
Yeah.
a lot of things that the library offers that you might not be aware of, but
Yeah.
we're happy to talk about those. Give us a call, stop in and see us.
Well, you mentioned Hoopla and Libby, and tell me a little bit about those programs or those streaming services particularly. How do those work?
So you would have to have a library card, obviously,
Okay.
to check these out.
Okay.
The good thing is nothing is ever overdue, because once it's at the due date, it just automatically disappears. So you never have overdue. So
Whatever
that's
your
awesome.
device is,
Yeah,
it just
yes.
disappears automatically.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
So Hoopla does provide not just ebooks and audiobooks, but also TV, movie, and music services.
Okay.
So it's a very robust app. I mean, it has all different kinds of things that you can check out. Libby has ebooks, audiobooks, magazines.
And the difference in those 2 streaming services, Libby is curated by the librarians who belong to the consortium. So I purchase most of the things that we purchase through Libby. But the nice thing is you can, that consortium, it's just like our Evergreen Indiana consortium. If it's there and it exists, then it's available to everyone. So if I buy something, and you belong to a different library who has Libby that's within our consortium, then that is available to you as well.
Perfect.
They come to our patrons first, and then if there's no one on hold, then it goes out to someone else. So Libby is curated by the librarians who belong to the consortium. Hoopla is curated by a group of people outside the library
Okay.
services. And so we don't get to choose those things. But the nice thing about that is it sometimes offers you things that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's where I go when I want to look for a new author. If I don't want to read the same authors that I've been reading, the very popular authors, I go back to Hoopla because it will give me unusual things that I wouldn't necessarily
Haven't
be
thought about
looking
before.
for.
Yeah, and Hoopla, you don't have to wait. There is no waiting. So, whereas Libby, you could think of the materials as almost like a physical item on the shelf. If someone has it checked out, then you can't check it out. But on Hoopla, it's simultaneous use. So it's
Perfect.
always available. There's
Okay.
no holds. So if the title's on there, you can check it out.
Okay.
Which is
We've got-
really good for like book club people if they're wanting to read virtually or they want
Yes,
to read
yeah.
electronically. Then those books are available for everyone
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Awesome. We have just a couple of minutes here. Tell me a little bit about the Giving Tree.
Yeah.
We're looking at each other.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're nodding.
So we wanted to mention it because we know a lot of people want to give to the library, and right now we're looking at some things to add for our new construction project. We're looking for outdoor equipment or outdoor interactive things to go along with our new project, our new outdoor programming space.
Okay.
So the library, when we take a bond or we have money
Yeah.
to spend, it's limited. We can
It is.
only spend as much as we have been allotted.
Sure.
And of course, construction a lot of times takes up more money than you anticipate.
No
So
way.
those
Lori.
unforeseen-
It does.
Like we
Every
mentioned a while ago,
single
the
time. Yeah.
unforeseeables.
Right.
That's
The
it.
unforeseeable, crumbling of the floor that needs to be
Yes,
repaired, that kind of thing.
yes.
So, one of the things that we're still dealing with, we're still using furniture that was purchased in 1994.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, but that's not necessarily in our budget for
Gotcha.
that.
Yeah.
But if you are someone who is very interested and passionate about the library and you would like to make a donation, of money for things like that,
Mhm.
then, we don't always we have a book budget. And that book budget is pretty robust. And that's what the state allows us to do. But we don't always have money for new furniture or new interactive materials for outside or toys. We had just for an example, we had donations for a young man who passed away in Greensburg, and we were able to purchase for the children's room a farmer's market set, which has turned into a veterinary clinic and a doctor's office. And, it has a little plaque that says it was donated in memory of Aaron Huber. And so, those kinds of things, we can put a plaque on it that says it was donated by, but a lot of times we don't have the funds for those kinds of things.
Sure.
And that's what the
It's very
Giving Tree
specific.
could be.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
So to
yeah.
find out needs for the Giving Tree, they can.
Right now, we're kind of working on building a new website. Our website is very old, was designed by my son when he was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
He's now 29, so
Okay.
it's, we need a new website.
Yeah.
I think the best way to find out what the library might need is to just contact Vanessa
Yeah.
and just say, look, I'd love to do memorial donations in honor of my mother, in honor of my, someone who's passed, or in memory of, or in honor of someone who is still alive. We do have some in honor of as well. Just ask what we need, and,
Okay.
and we can talk through that depending on what kind of money it looks like you might have to donate.
Perfect. Well, Lori and Vanessa, thank you so much. We are unfortunately out of time. 30 minutes flies when you're
It
in the
does.
studio.
It does.
But I want to thank both of you for being here with us today, for being a valued member of the Greensburg-Decatur County Chamber. We've had Lori Durbin and Vanessa Martin with the Greensburg-Decatur County Public Library with us today. So thank you so much for all that you do, not only with the Chamber, but for our community as well. And with that, I am Dawn Lowe with the Greensburg-Decatur County Chamber of Commerce. This is December the 4th, and this was Community Connections.